Good morning. Welcome to Talking Balearics with me, Martin Makepeace, in a sun-drenched Ibiza.
And good morning. It's me, Richie Pryor, from a darkened room in Mallorca. I can't tell you what the weather's like.
You're back in the radio studio, Rich?
Back in the studio, mate. Back in the studio.
And how is the breakfast show going?
Good. Yes, thank you. Very good. Enjoying it. It's fun to do it all over again, to be honest with you. And yeah, all good, mate. All good. Enjoying it.
But this time, Richie, you're the boss.
Well, I'm not the boss. Do you know what I mean? And, you know, I've got other people helping me out, so which is good.
Good, mate. Talking Balearics, what have you got for me this week, Richie?
We are looking. Well, I am looking at the UK government set to welcome back young people to Europe. Basically, this is the freedom of movement that they've been talking about, which looks like it's going to happen, which I think is a good thing. Also, the shortening of school holidays has become a bit of a hot potato back in the UK, apparently, which I know you and I disagree on. So that's really interesting.
You love this. You love this topic, don't you?
Do.
No, you really do. God, ad nauseum. Should we add another 10 minutes on the running time then today, shall we, for that?
And well, that's those are the two major subjects. I thought, well, I better stick with those because it could take a little bit longer than normal.
Well, listen, I've got a couple of things. First of all, I've got my normal UNVRS spot as always.
Yes, from our main sponsor.
Yeah, from our non-sponsor, but it's actually got a little bit of a different slant on it. It's how it's affecting the other clubs. I've also got an interesting story about the Es Vedra Viewpoint, which I'll explain to you when we go there. And lastly, I just want to touch on the Rubiales, mate. I know me and you are both massive soccer, football people. So I just want to touch on that and how it's affected Ibiza, or how Ibiza has got into the story a little bit. And last but not least, very shortly, one of our Balearic friends, islands, is proving very popular, which I'll mention that as well. So, Rich, talk to me about, let's get it out of the way early, mate. Let's talk about school holidays, because I just need to get it out of the way.
Well, the government are talking, or the government back in the UK, that is, are talking the fact that most state schools have a school period of around about 195 days, of which some are teacher training days, etc. And they're saying that's probably not enough days in school for children right now. They normally have 6 weeks at summer. They have a week at Easter, 2 weeks at Christmas, a couple of half terms thrown in as well. And they say that the kids are off too much, and they want to bring it back. They want to maybe cut it back to about 4 weeks on the summer holiday, increase the Easter holiday, possibly, and then possibly put extra days in elsewhere. So I'm not quite sure. For me, listen, you know, I'm a firm believer in going back to the day when I first arrived here in 1990. That families used to come here May to October. There wasn't a break in the holiday program. Do you know what I mean? It was basically May to October. Prices did go up in July and August, but not how significant they do right now, because the fact that the Conservative government, in their wisdom, I think it might have been a coalition government in their wisdom, Michael Gove was part of it, that said that children aren't allowed out of school during term time. I personally disagree with that. I think it's wrong. I think if the children are in a situation where they're not struggling in school, their normal, the times they normally go to school are fine. They're not late. They're not off sick, etc. So they're not behind in their studies. Put it like that. I think it's a perfect opportunity.
Are you looking at it from a Mallorca perspective, though, or are you looking at it from a UK parent perspective? Because it greatly affects the islands, doesn't it? When the time of holidays, if we reduce the UK holidays, then we're going to get a reduction of families. And as we've already spoken about on the podcast previously, some of your resorts are going majorly for families, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm looking at it on both sides. If we take it from the Mallorca side, first of all, then yes, you know, if they reduce, say, the summer holidays to 4 weeks, you know, that would have a major effect on resorts such as Magaluf, Palma Nova, Alcuda in the north. Quite a lot of Mallorca's families now. That's the sort of the big thing the government have hit. Obviously, there's been a big push, particularly in the Calvia region, in and around Magaluf, to push more families. And yeah, it would have an effect on hotels, excursions, etc. You know, if that was done. But I mean, I know they've done a poll amongst the teachers, and the teachers weren't for it at the time. The majority of teachers wanted to stick to the 6 weeks that they already have. If I look at it from the other side, from the UK side, I just don't see the reason why they can't go back to how it was in the 90s. let them go away when they wish, as long as their children aren't, as I say, failing in school, they're not doing badly. What's the problem of kids being able to go to another country, hear another language, taste different food, learn about the culture, etc., and then go back and talk about it to their mates at school, and hopefully learn something from it. I don't see it as a major problem personally.
I mean, we disagree on this, because I have a real problem with people taking their kids out of school. I think especially the education system is amazing in Ibiza. I think the education system is really good. I think in the UK, I mean, free schooling, it's the things that only our forefathers could dream of, the excellence of schooling. So to take them out of school just to have a holiday, I kind of get it if it's a long haul holiday, Rich. If you're going somewhere which is culturally significant, maybe India, China, places like that, I kind of get that. It's educational. But to go and sit on a beach in Mallorca, Ibiza, Menorca, Formentera, I mean, even though I'm probably talking us out a bit of business, I'm not sure it's where we're at, Rich, to be honest. But what I would say is that they should never mess with a 6-week holiday. You know why? Because the best memories of my life were on the 6-week holiday. You've got the whole of August off. You've got a week off in July as well. And you've got the first few days in September. Everyone's off for August, and everyone knows where we stand, and we make the most of it. So I really hope they don't change it. And if they do, then I think they'll create more problems for themselves. So I think people will then start taking their kids out of school because they're being forced to, rather than they just want to.
Yeah, and I think you also, from my point of view, you also have to look at the families that can't afford to go away in July and August, because the prices are horrendous. Yeah. I know this. I go back at Christmas time and I spend time. I've been to Centre Parks last couple of years, sorry. And if I waited a week or 10 days after the time I wanted to go, the price. I mean, I'm trying to remember how much it was. It was about 5 or 6 times more the time I wanted to go from the time if you go in the beginning of January. Do you know what I mean? It's the same place.
But isn't it irresponsible parenting, Rich, to take them out of school just because you want a holiday?
No, I don't think so. I think, look, Mark, why should a government minister decide on when I should take my kids out of school? In my opinion, if my child
because they're getting free education to a high level, that's why.
Well, no, but what if my child is doing very well at school? He's never missed classes, never ill. He's getting these grades every year. He's never looked like he's ever going to fail his exam. And I want to go away for a week. Why am I being fined to do that unless I can? I have to ask permission. I think that's wrong. It's like a bit like a nanny state, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's a bit like living in North Korea.
I know. I get what you're saying, Rich. I mean, I've been away for the last few Christmases, and I've paid unbelievable amounts to go away that Christmas week, because with my son's football as well, which is a little bit more complicated. It's probably more for the football than for the school, to be honest.
I'm going that way this year.
Yeah. As you'll see now, your son's doing very well at football. Yeah. You really are. If you take him out of football, you get even more frowned on than you do if you take him out of school.
Totally.
However, I've always understood that if I want to go away for those peak weeks, which for us is, because we're working in summer, is Christmas. You just have to swallow it, Richie. And I'm sorry, mate, I don't agree. I've got a friend of mine who takes their kids out the 2 weeks after Christmas, right? So the kid has 2 weeks at Christmas, and then as soon as everyone goes back to school, they go on holiday for 2 weeks. And I just think it's really irresponsible. I've got to tell you, Richie, I don't agree with it at all. I think they're taking everything for granted. They're taking the education system for granted. And I would personally, I'd happily see them be kicked out of school for that. Sorry, mate, I would.
Oh, come on. This is a bit draconian, that, isn't it? And no. I would ask the question, is that child suffering because he's going away for those 2 weeks? How well is he doing at school? Or
Richie,
she?
It's a she, actually. Them's the rules, mate. And when you sign up for the free education, if you're paying for education, it's different. You're paying private education, 10 grand a year or whatever. Do what you want. I bet they don't take them out then, do they? So anyway, should we agree to disagree?
Of course, mate.
Yeah, it's always good to have a little bit of disagreement on the pod, isn't it?
Yeah.
Es Vedra Viewpoint, Rich.
Yes, tell me.
Right now, have you ever been to
Es? Goats are, right?
Well, it used to be there, mate, before they killed them off with high-velocity rifles, but that's a different...
yes, that's awful, yeah.
No, listen, my rant of about 6 or 7 years ago went on forever and a day about that. No, so Es Vedra, it is an amazing viewpoint in Ibiza. It's on the west coast. It's basically on the peak of the west coast. It really is an unbelievable rock formation, sticks out of the sea, if I'm not mistaken, about nearly 200 meters high. If I'm not mistaken, I might be wrong with that, but I think it's 200 meters high. I'm obsessed with the place. I go past there all the time on the boat or on whatever. However, there's a viewpoint there, which is kind of now it's on the route, if you know what I mean. I think where does everyone go in Mallorca? Where's the viewpoint in Mallorca that everyone goes to see? Is there a Mirador over there where everybody goes to a viewpoint?
The mountains on the west, but you could go up to the top of Belvedere Castle, for instance, overlooking Palma.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there are quite a few different ones, actually, to be honest with you.
This is a natural wonder. They say it's one of the most magnetic places in the world. But anyway, don't believe everything you read in the paper or on my blog spots. But what happened, Rich? There was a big parking area there, which was on private land. And so everyone used to go and park there, used to walk to the viewpoint, maybe a 15-minute walk to the viewpoint. It is a real adventure. I mean, something you and the kids and the missus would do when you come over, because it's free. It's a wow. You go at sunset, you maybe go at sunrise. It's a wow. However, the other day we went, or friends of mine went, and they closed the car park down. Okay.
Oh.
So as it turns out, it was in the news today, which I think I sent you earlier, didn't I? That what's happened is, the owners of the car parking, basically private owners, people just parking on the land, they've said enough is enough. They're ruining the environment, which they're well within their rights to, by the way, Richie. You've got several hundred cars trampling over your land. They've shut it down. They seem to be in negotiations or with talks with the San Jose Council to open up a paid-for car park, which I think is a great idea. But the problem is there's an impasse. Okay, so at the moment there's no parking, so the roads are now getting parked. And I think my point to it all, how come in the Balearics and Ibiza especially, we can't get organised to showcase our amazing viewpoints and our amazing nature? Now, if this was in America, Rich, they'd have massive paid-for car parks everywhere. They'd have a yellow brick road going to the viewpoint. And it would be all singing or dancing. You'd pay, but you'd be happy. But here in Ibiza and in the Balearics, we just can't seem to get our act together. And it is so frustrating. That's the thing. It's so frustrating because, I'm not saying you should monetize everything, but this is a great chance that you could showcase your amazing natural feature, make some money, and keep everyone happy.
And shouldn't some of the money that they get sort of be there to help keep that particular viewpoint in the manner it should be kept in for other people? I imagine, a bit like the tourist tax is one of another favourite subjects.
Well, you would imagine so, wouldn't you, Rich? But I couldn't hand on heart say that would happen. But I think at the moment they're arguing about who maintains the car park, who cleans it, who looks after it. Because the thing is, they probably won't get paid for it. They'll probably just be able to avoid paying taxes on the land. That's how it usually works. If you give your land over to the local government, they usually waive the IBI council tax, and Basura, for instance, they waive those taxes. So, but it could be a sizable amount. However, at the moment they're just arguing about these little things. It's just so frustrating. Anyway, bit of a rant, Rich, but Es Vedra Viewpoint, if you're in Ibiza, it's an amazing place to go and see, especially at sunset.
Keir Starmer and the Labour government are looking at introducing a new visa for 18 to 30-year-olds, possibly all the way up to 35. So this, obviously, the freedom of movement was taken away when Brexit happened, and it's affected both.
Brexit,
exactly. Yeah. Well, listen, Brexit's Brexit. I mean, you can't turn it around. I think this is, for me, is not anti-Brexit. It's something that should be done. It's something that really shouldn't have been taken away in the first place. I get it for everybody. I do get that, but for particularly the young people who like to travel, who want, we go back to this experience of another country, etc. It's a good thing, and it's without doubt holiday resorts like ours and even the UK, working both ways, have suffered with young people not being able to travel into those countries free of charge or just freely, if that makes sense. Without a visa and working basically. So I think it's a great idea. I hope it happens. And it's not something that we don't have with other countries. We do. We have, but there's about 12 other countries that we already have this particular scheme in place: Australia, New Zealand, Canada, Hong Kong, South Korea. I think there's about 12 more or less that we've got agreements with. So why can't Europe be another one? I think it's a great thing.
a really valid point, Rich. We've really struggled with staff over the since Brexit, haven't we, on the Balearic Islands? Because what we used to get is all the young workers coming over, especially for like the Punta Ballena, the San Antonio area, and the kind of clubbing side. They come over, they wouldn't particularly ask for high wages, a working holiday, so to speak. A bit like the student visa. And since that's been taken away, I don't know what it's been like in Magaluf and the surrounding areas, Rich. But we
can't find staff, Mark.
No, really struggled.
Yeah. And listen, both you and I were, back in 1990, were part of the freedom of movement scheme. We probably wouldn't be here today if we hadn't had that opportunity. And I think denying people that opportunity is wrong.
Yeah, I think it will happen sooner or later, Richie. Listen, Brexit was a democratic vote. Listen, all joking aside, I believe in democracy. I don't particularly agree with the result, but it is what it is, Rich. Yeah. However, I think one of the biggest problems or the biggest shames of it all is that they've taken away the right of young British people to come and work in Spain and the rights of young Spanish people to go and work in the UK. And I think it's a massive shame.
Agree.
Right, UNVRS. Are we ready for our UNVRS story?
Oh, yes, please.
Well, because it's a weekly occurrence these days, isn't it? So
yeah.
I often mention UNVRS because it's the so-called biggest club.
He's hoping to get a freebie in the summer. That's what it is.
Well, hopefully, if the bosses are listening and you can sponsor our show for
yes, please, yeah, that'd be nice.
A couple of G&Ts on an August night will sort it, won't it, Rich?
Yeah, of course.
But university, it seems to be gathering momentum. It's doing well. But there's been a good article in the press this week that they've basically stolen all the acts from Amnesia. Now, it's an interesting dynamic because they're literally across the road from each other. One's at one side of the road, one's at the other side of the road. So you've got Universe, which used to be called Privilege and Coup, on one side of the road in San Rafael. And on the other side of the road is Amnesia, which is a place where Balearic House was born. But what's happened is, and I knew this was going to happen, I think I mentioned it in our podcast a few weeks ago, is that there is a natural order here, Rich. So what's happening is the so-called biggest club in the world is attracting all the biggest acts, and all the acts are now leaving, deserting ship, and Amnesia has been left with pretty much nothing because Elro's gone, Jamie Jones has gone, Carl Cox has gone. So all these artists that used to play in Amnesia, that are now contracted to UNVRS. So I saw that Eddie Halliwell, who's an old name, he's got a night on at Amnesia. I think it's a one-off. It's like there's only so many people to go around, Rich, isn't there? And I think this is the problem with these high-end places, and especially in Ibiza, is that you've only got X amount of people. And someone said to me that, UNVRS, it will bring a lot of business to the island. It will do, but it'll also take a lot of business away from certain establishments as well. So there will be a natural pecking order. And I think as UNVRS gathers momentum and becomes more successful, I think there will be a few casualties on the way.
Is this a money thing? Is it because they're offering more money, or is this because they see this as something new and different and something to get involved with? Obviously, it's a university owned by the Matutis, and they obviously have other clubs as well, Schweier, etc. So, what is it? Is it why are they jumping ship?
Richie, how dare you suggest that it's a money thing?
Well, call me Mr. Picky. You know what I mean?
Of course, it's a money thing, Richie. Absolutely, 100%. If you're a Premiership footballer and you're playing for Wolves on 50 grand a week, and someone comes in from Man United and offers you 300 grand a week, what are you going to do? You're going to jump ship, aren't you? So it's a dog eat dog business. There's absolutely no love lost between the clubs on the island as well. By the way, in fact, they all hate each other incredibly. They're all taking court cases here and denouncing here as well. So there's no love lost. So it's going to rumble on. I think the most interesting thing is going to be let's see how each club performs this year, because I think there will be a couple of casualties, but I think there'll be a couple of casualties where we don't think there's going to be a couple of casualties as well. So I think even some of the well-established clubs will suffer. So watch this space. We will be here on Talking Balearics to report on a weekly basis from our non-sponsor UNVRS. There you go.
You wanted to talk about Mr. Rubiales? Yeah,
Rubiales, just a quick one, mate. I mean, I don't really want to talk too much about him because I think he's an idiot. I think what he did was excusable, but how he reacted to it was inexcusable. I think it was disgrace. But what happened was, after Rubiales obviously was the head of the Spanish Football Federation, he did the big kiss on Jenny Hermoso on stage in front of the world, which was pretty horrendous, really, if you look at it. He got he was fined, wasn't he? Was it sexual aggression or something like that? I think it's a bit of a machismo thing, which we've got a problem here in Spain, Rich, haven't we, with the machismo still after all these years, which is basically males acting tough and strong. But what happened was when the girls won the World Cup, when they beat England, remember, in the final, is they came straight to Ibiza, and it was rumbling on still then. And Ibiza got dragged into the court case where basically Jenny Hermoso was really upset apparently in Ibiza, and it was mentioned several times in the court case. And not a great thing to be associated with, but thankfully it's all worked out in the end. He's been banned from football. As I said, I've got no time for what he did. And he's been judged accordingly, and I think the right outcome has happened, and he doesn't look like he'll be participating in football anytime soon.
I thought the fine was a bit weak.
Yeah,
to be perfectly honest, €10,000.
It's neither here. I mean, isn't that? I mean, that's Spanish justice all over for you. I mean, it's all about the kind of that he got played guilty, and then I mean, charge him a couple of 100,000, give it to charity. In my opinion, or give it to kids football. You know what I mean? Or give it to charity. But yeah, I think it was a bit poor, Rich, but I think it was the right outcome. I don't think it was sexual assault. I think it was. I can't remember the actual. I
think you mentioned. I think you said sexual aggression. I think that's what.
Is it sexual aggression? Yeah. I don't. I'm not one to stick up for him, but I just think he got a bit carried away. Simple as that.
I think on the other side for her, I mean, unfortunately for her, she had to move away. She was chased quite a lot on Twitter, as always with these things in social media, and she had to move to Mexico. She's playing her football in Mexico now, and try and get away from it all, which is a sad situation, I think.
I didn't know that. I mean, what I would say, Rich, if he'd have come out straight away afterwards and put his hand up and said, "I'm really sorry, I messed up, I'm really sorry," I beg for forgiveness, I think we'd think differently. However, because he came out and tried to turn the tables and put pressure on them, I think he was judged accordingly. So, finally, Rich, just last story, Menorca. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the new in place, I hear.
Well, I don't know whether they're paying for a big advertising campaign at the moment, but all the press were running it this week saying they're 34% up. People now want the relaxed island of Menorca. However, it did come in the press something I've never seen before. Have you ever heard that Menorca is shaped like a diving dolphin? Have you ever heard that before?
No.
Right, I've lived in Balearics almost as long as you have, Rich. 35 years. And I've never heard that, and it's in the press. Menorca, the island that's shaped like a diving dolphin. Have a look. Have a look at it and let me know what you think. Eh? All good, mate.
There you go. Something to do with the marketing campaign, I imagine, or yes.
Quite bizarre, but I've got to say, listen, Menorca's a fantastic island. I've mentioned Beautiful. It before. It's absolutely wonderful. And the best thing about the Balearics, I'll give the Balearics a little bit of plug. 4 islands, 4 main islands, should I say, because Cabrera is not really a habitable island, but 4 main islands, which of course is Mallorca, Menorca, Ibiza, and Formentera, all completely different, so offering something for everybody. There you go. Nice plug for the Balearics on Talking Balearics, Richie.
Marvellous. That's it for today.
Perfect, Rich. Great, mate. I'm off skiing tomorrow, but I will be back.
What, another holiday?
Well, actually, I'm taking my kid out of school for one day tomorrow.
Oh, blasphemy. What are you going to do? I hope you've asked me.
Hey, ironic, huh? But just one day, and because I want to get back for Tuesday, because we've got Carnival next week. So next Tuesday, when we record the programme, it'll be Carnival, won't it? Which I think we'll touch on next week.
Oh, and if anybody's thinking, well, why is it only one day, you're not back till Tuesday? It's because there's a big holiday here. Semana Blanca is the big holiday here that takes normally Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, sometimes into Monday as well. So
yeah, we're off Monday over here, Rich. So the reason this is like our half term, isn't it? So we're going away. Yeah. We're going away a day early just because I want to get an extra day skiing, not for any other reason. The flights were cheap, but cheapish, should I say? But so we're off. Kids are off Thursday, Friday, Monday over here, mate. So
somewhere nice. Where are you going?
I'm going to Austria. So I'm actually going to the same place that I went to 2 weeks ago with the boys, but I'm now going with my sons because it was such a great time. So we're going back there.
Good.
There you
Enjoy.
Go. Thank you, mate. Have a great week, and I'll be listening to you on the program, and maybe you need to change that pattern a little bit. Just a little bit. Leave it. All right,
Take care, Mark.
Have a good week, Rich.
Bye-bye.